Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our first state financial aid webcast of the year in the month of March. My name is Alexandria Blakely, and I'm a program specialist with the Resource for Development team under the Student Financial Aid Programs Department. And I'm so excited to be co presenting today with my fellow colleagues, program managers Laura DeGrush and Troyling Johnson. As a quick reminder, we will have video and PDF versions of the presentation available on our SFAP website under the Stay Connected webcast archive for your convenience. An announcement will be sent once it's made available, and I will put the link in the chat right now. We also have our directors here with us today, Deshae Reed and Tanisha Coulter, who will be tending to the chat to answer any questions you may have. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And without further ado, let's get started. In today's agenda, we'll be discussing updates to the online TASFA, overviews of the Texas Transfer Grant and the Texas First programs. We'll also discuss how to process a transfer request in the GAP portal, and we'll also go over some deadlines, reminders, and notifications. And again, your questions are going to be addressed throughout the presentation in the chat. But at this time, we're going to hand it over to Laura DeGrush, who will discuss some updates and reminders for our 24-25 TASFA. Take it away, Laura.
Thank you, Alexandria. We will start by reviewing the purpose of the TASFA and when the FAFSA is used versus when the TASFA is used. Most likely you are familiar with who can fill out a FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, so we won't dwell on it, but it is important to keep in mind and remind students that the FAFSA is used to determine eligibility for state financial aid as well as federal aid. So if a student cannot fill out the FAFSA, then we encourage them to fill out a TASFA, the Texas application for state financial aid. Students who typically apply are Texas residents who are not eligible to complete the FAFSA. The TASFA is used to determine eligibility for state and possibly institutional financial aid. You can find the TASFA on College for All Texans website and on our higher ed website under our work, under empowering our students at TASFA. For the 24-25 application, the FAFSA simplification did impact the TASFA. It impacted the timeline and the content of the paper and online TASFA. As for when the online TASFA became available, we had it available February 29th on 2024. The paper TASFA is available in English and Spanish and remains available if a student is unable to fill it out online. All institutions participating in state financial aid are required to receive online and paper TASFAs. Now we will go into changes for the 24-25 TASFA. Starting with what was removed, changes made to the TASFA involved an assessment of stakeholder feedback along with an assessment of the changes made to the FAFSA, especially for what questions are needed in creating a student aid index, the SAI. The TASFA mirrored the FAFSA in removing various questions. Most of the questions removed were related to student and parent income and tax-related information. Now, this is a lot of removals here on screen, but hopefully it helps illustrate how much was removed. You can also see the listing of questions removed in a memo from January 3rd, 2024. Looking at what was added, the TASFA added a few questions for clarity purposes and to match additions to the FAFSA. Now, previously, we did not ask the student spouse's name, and this was added for clarity. This should help institutions match data and any additional documentation needed, such as W-2s and tax transcripts. Other questions added to the student and parent section include pensions and rollovers, net profit loss, and foreign earned income exclusion questions. Now, on to what was updated. Other questions on the TASFA were updated in order to match the FAFSA, and they include the answer choices for student and parent marital status and tax filing status, the wording and specifics of the dependency determination questions, and federal benefits received questions. They were updated by adding categories such as coverage under a qualified health plan, the QHP, and the Earned Income Tax Credit, the EIC, and federal housing assistance. Child support questions were also moved to the asset sections for the student and the parent. In terms of other changes on the paper and online TASFA, we built in a new family information section. This is an example of the new section on the paper TASFA. This section captures the federal benefits received and the family size questions. This change was in response to stakeholder feedback and to better mirror the FAFSA content. And here is an example of the new section on the online TASFA. Federal benefits questions for the 23-24 TASFA were in the student section, but now these questions are in their own section. And so this helps students properly answer this question based on if they are considered independent or dependent, as they've had a chance to answer the student and dependency questions. Questions on family size are also in the family info section. The questions mirror the changes made on the FAFSA in terms of the description of who to include in the family size and who to include in college. Looking at the TASFA flow, you can see the new family info section and how that should create a smoother flow for following instructions and filling out the TASFA. The flow hasn't changed too much, taking into consideration all the changes that have occurred. Now looking at the new features for the 24-25 online TASFA, we will go ahead and look at the application page. Once a user logs into their account, they will see new messaging to help guide them with the purpose and important reminders about the TASFA. The user will see the application for the 23-24 academic year and the application for the 24-25 academic year. They will also be able to click on a tab to see information about the TASFA in Spanish. And here we have the message about the TASFA in Spanish. They can use the Spanish paper TASFA as a reference, or they can decide to download the paper copy and fill it out in Spanish. We have made some improvements to the questions with date entries, such as for the student and the parent date of birth questions. The field no longer is asking for any typing. Users now are prompted to select dates using a pop-up calendar. And similarly, dates for marital status for the student and the parent are improved. The date fields no longer allow any typing, and users are prompted to select marital status dates from month and year as drop-down menus. We received feedback from users that the previous calendar selection process was challenging, and so we decided to update these fields. We have updated the masking button functionality as well so that users can turn data masking on and off with a single click over personal identifiable information. And we received feedback from users that the prior functionality was difficult to correct fields with the hover over option. Now, let's go over file processing to ensure it is clear on how TASFA data is transmitted. The process remains the same for 24-25 and how data was transmitted for the 23-24 application. So this should be a review. TASFA files are sent daily through a secure file transfer protocol or an SFTP using our online portal, Move It DMZ, and they go into the institution's dedicated TASFA folder. So in your home folder, you should see a TASFA folder. Institutions can now see a 24-25 folder in addition to the 23-24 folder. Institutions should regularly check the TASFA output file and move it since reports are sent there daily if there's a new application for your institution. As a note, we are aware of technical issues affecting the output data for the 24-25 online TASFA, which is uploaded into Move It DMZ. Our technical team is actively investigating the root cause and will notify institutions once the issue has been resolved. The issue is impacting the cumulative file and the output files. So you can see three types of files: a cumulative file highlighted in CSV format here, and two types of output files in CSV and text format. We will describe how each works. You will see and receive a cumulative CSV for all the applications that have submitted their 24-25 application to date for your institution. You can see output files for applications submitted for the day to your institution as well. One of the types of output files is a CSV, which may be easier for an institution to manually read. And this is a good tool if your institution does not receive many TASFA applicants or does not have the time and resources to immediately develop an automated process. The other type of output file you can see is a text file or a fixed length file with the applicant data submitted to your institution for that day. This type of file can be easier for data automation purposes, but a bit harder to read if you're manually inputting data. To read the fixed length file and cumulative reports and move it, institutions can use the file layout available on the agency website under Student Financial Aid Programs, Program Resources. And in terms of other resources, we have our dedicated TASFA webpage, and users can find the online and paper application there. Users can also find frequently asked questions, and also a dedicated help page. So we have covered a lot of information here on the TASFA. Now we will look at other state financial aid programs, and let us turn it over to our colleague here, Program Manager Troy Ling Johnson. Thank you here.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will give you an overview of both the Texas Transfer Grant and the Texas First Scholarship Program. Let's begin with the purpose of the Texas Transfer Grant. The Texas Transfer Grant provides need-based grants to eligible students who transfer from a Texas public two-year institution to a Texas public four-year institution. Key items to remember are: this is a newly established program that is totally separate from the pilot program that was administered during the 22-23 academic school year. And the program will now be administered as a block grant, meaning institutions will identify program recipients, determine eligibility, award, and disperse program funds. To qualify for a transfer grant, a student must be classified by the institution as a Texas resident, be registered with Selective Service or be exempt, have applied for any available financial aid, aid and show financial need. The student must have earned an associate degree with a minimum 2.5 GPA from a Texas public two-year institution and be enrolled in a baccalaureate degree program at the eligible institution on a full-time basis. The Texas Transfer Grant award amounts are going to be consistent with the maximum semester amount for the Toward Excellence, Access, and Success Grant. I've given you here the annual maximum semester grant amount for fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, as well as the federal maximum priority estimated family contribution and the student aid index. These are just federal maximums for your information. Now, for additional information, we encourage you to refer to the memo dated March 5th of 2024. It's hyperlinked here. And as well as it's available on our Student Financial Aid Programs webpage under the Stay Connected hyperlink. Program participation in the transfer grant is optional. As a reminder, invitations for participation went to all financial aid directors at public universities and health-related institutions on March 12th of 2024. An intent to participate form must be submitted acknowledging your decision no later than April 8th. To learn more about the Texas Transfer Grant Program, please review the Texas Administrative Code. We've hyperlinked it here for your convenience. Also, to further support institutions, we are in the progress of preparing the fiscal year 2024 fact sheet. Also, we are preparing fiscal year 2025 program guidelines. So when these items are ready for release, a separate communication will be sent out alerting institutions of the information, and any resources that are going to be published, you'll always be able to find them and access them on our Student Financial Aid Programs webpage. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the Texas First Scholarship Program. Before we discuss any program updates, I want to give you a brief overview of the program. What is a Texas First Scholarship and how can I get one? Well, I am so glad you asked. The Texas First Scholarship Program was established to incentivize the enrollment of high-performing students at Texas public institutions of higher education. Eligible students who graduate early under the Texas First Early High School Completion Program can receive a scholarship, which is applied as a state credit to the student's charges for tuition, mandatory fees, and other costs of attendance. To qualify for a Texas First Scholarship, a student must be enrolled at an eligible institution, be classified as a resident of Texas by the institution, be registered for a selective service, or be exempt. The student must have graduated early from high school under the Texas First Early High School Completion Program, as we just heard. One of the rule changes largely impacting the program is the expansion of the scholarship to all public institutions. For instance, students graduating early with a Texas First diploma on or after September 1st of 2023 can use their scholarship at any public institution in the state of Texas. Students graduating early with a Texas First diploma prior to September 1st of 2023 are subject to previous legislation, meaning these students can use their scholarship at any one of the 10 research or emerging research institutions, as you see listed on the screen. For more information on rule changes, we do encourage you to review the memo that was released on February 29th of 2024. We do have it hyperlinked here for your convenience. And we encourage you to read the Texas Administrative Code in its entirety. Now we'll go into some updates. We want to talk about the recipient rosters. What is the purpose of the recipient roster for this program? Who is included on the roster? Let me give you a little piece of history of how we get to this point. A student who's interested in a Texas First scholarship. First, we found out they must have graduated early under the program. Next, their high school counselor must deem them eligible. They have to verify the student's eligibility with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Once their eligibility is confirmed with THECB, the THECB will then issue eligible students a scholarship certificate letting the student know how much they could possibly receive if they enroll in an eligible institution. Now we're to the recipient roster. Once we issue a certificate to a student, we insert that student's name on a recipient roster that is then made accessible to all eligible institutions. So now it's going to be all public institutions that we're making these rosters accessible to. So recipient rosters were recreated as of March 1st to better align with program rules, which means as of March 1st, we made a few changes. We included the high school graduation date to help institutions a little bit more. We moved the date that the certificate was issued by the THECB from column A to column G, just to help with the flow. Rosters already included the student's name, last four of the social security number, date of birth, the certificate award amount, and this information is uploaded on a roster into Move It DMZ for the institutions to access. And we have two separate tabs in the Excel spreadsheet file. So we have an FY23 tab that contains a list of students who graduated with the Texas First Diploma prior to 9/1 of 23. Then we have a FY24 tab that contains a list of students who graduated with a Texas First Diploma on or after 9/1 of 23. And so based on that, based on that, based on this information, institutions do not have to collect the certificate from a student because you can use these rosters to verify a student's eligibility. The Texas First folder in Move It has been created for your convenience. Before we were uploading the rosters into your institution's grant output folder. Now, going forward, all rosters will now be moved into the institution's new Texas First folder. So it just makes it makes the rosters more easily identifiable. Um, One other thing I would like to note about this new folder is that during the creation of the new folder, there's a test file called delete me. If your institution um, goes in to retrieve your files and you notice that delete me test file is still there, feel free to delete it, ignore it. Just wanted to make you aware of it, that it was used for testing purposes only. As a reminder, Move It DMZ does not generate a file upload notification, so institutions should determine their own file retrieval frequency for retrieving these program rosters. To learn more about the Texas First program, we encourage you to review the Texas Administrative Code. Also, on the Student Financial Aid Program's webpage, we will always, under Program Resources, provide any updated resources there. We are working on the FY25 program guidelines for this program as well. A separate communication will be sent out, like I said earlier, once the guidelines are ready to release. Now, I will put you back into the hands of my cohort, Alexandria Blakely. Thank you all.
Thank you, Trolling. Now, at this time, we will give a quick overview on how to request transfers in the GAP portal. Just as a quick reminder, the GAP roles that can complete a transfer request are the primary point of contact, the secondary point of contact, and the reporting official. Once logged into the GAP portal, you will need to click on the request tile from the home screen. From the menu, you will select Transfer Request from the menu on the top right-hand corner of the screen. From the drop box, you will select the program from which you are seeking to transfer funds. Once the program is selected in the From Program field, it will then unlock all the other applicable fields. As you can see here, the To Program field is now available. Now from the drop box, you will select the program to which you are seeking the transferred funds to be submitted. Once the program is selected in the To Program field, it will unlock the Transfer Amount field, which is highlighted in red here, but also a dollar amount will then reflect in the Maximum Transferable Amount field highlighted in blue at the top of the form on the right. Then you will type the amount you would like to transfer and then click on the Submit button. Now, this is an example of the email correspondence that you will receive once your request is submitted. Should you need to check the status or view the entire request, you will click on the IR number, which is located under IR name that matches your request. Once you have done so, it will reflect the status that the request is in, whether it's been submitted for approval, canceled, not approved, or approved. In this example, it shows that the transfer request is submitted for approval. Now, if an institution wishes to proceed with a transfer request for a particular program and the institution has previously checked the box named Last Payment Request for Program shown in red here, then the institution must submit a GAP help desk ticket to request the removal of that check mark before proceeding. Please note, the last payment request for program option should be only chosen for institutions intending to close out the program for the year. Directions on where to find this information has been added to the bottom of this slide for your convenience. Now, at this time, we'll go over some deadlines, reminders, and notifications, and we're going to start with the updates and deadlines to our 23-24 financial aid database. Institutions are required to submit a comprehensive FAD report 2 times a year. As of fiscal year 2024, Institutions are not required to submit a report for cycle 1. However, cycle 2 requires student data validation, and cycle 3 requires certification of that student data. It is important to note that schools that do not adhere to the listed deadline dates are at risk of future state financial aid being placed on hold, and this does include loan disbursements as well. There are some brand new data elements listed on the current version of the FAD report manual for fiscal year 2024. It is now available and posted onto our SFAP landing page under program resources. We will now take a look at the changes made to the state priority deadline. A recent memo was sent on February 28th stating that the priority deadline has been extended to April 15th, 2024. Most institutions of higher education are encouraged to utilize the deadline but are not required to do so. The priority deadline is neither a guarantee to receive funding if the student applies by the applicable date for the academic year, nor is it a restriction to those that apply beyond that date. It is simply a mechanism used to evaluate students in similar situations to prioritize limited funding and to encourage students to complete their application in a timely manner to better their chances of receiving that state funding. Now, some other deadlines, reminders, and notifications that we want to bring to your attention are as follows. April 8th is the deadline for directors of financial aid at public institutions to confirm their intent to participate in the educational aid exemption, Texas Transfer Grant, and financial aid for Swift Transfer or FAST programs. April 15th is the deadline for all private independent institutions to submit a final TEG engagement report. You can do this electronically by uploading a copy of the report using the TEG engagement online submission form for fiscal year 2023. For public universities to receive payment for the FAST program, they will need to set up recurring transfer index or RTI codes for the Unified State Accounting System, or what we call USAS. If the setup is not in place, the CB cannot disperse these funds to your institution. Please refer to the memo dated August 30th, 2023 for more details. As was mentioned earlier, the CB is aware of technical issues affecting the output data from the 24-25 online TASFA, which is uploaded into Move It DMZ. Our technical team is actively investigating the root cause and will notify institutions once the issue has been resolved. Some of our most recent notifications that are currently posted on our Stay Connected page are regarding new rules for the Texas Transfer Grant dated March 5th, updates to the Texas First Scholarship Program on February the 29th, the availability of the 24-25 online TASFA on February the 29th, updates to the 24-25 state financial aid priority deadline on February the 27th, and a notice about all of our other state financial aid updates, reminders, and upcoming deadlines was sent February the 22nd. Here are some ways you can contact us if need be. Should you need to reach us by phone, we have several numbers that can be used based on the needs of the person calling. Our borrower services line assists our current borrowers and co-signers with payments, postponements, and other inquiries about their account. Our Texas Financial Aid Information Center line, or what we affectionately call the TFAC line, is available and open to the public so that they have a way to ask general financial aid questions. Institutions also have their own dedicated line to contact us. And as an alternative, all parties mentioned can email us by submitting inquiries online through our Contact Us web form. This form is available on all three of our websites, which is the College for All Texans website, HH Loans, and highered.texas.gov. For institutions that are completing this form, we ask that you complete the following steps to ensure that your inquiry is properly routed. You will select institution from the Receive From box, enter the institution's full name, always select financial aid question as the contact reason, enter the description of your inquiry, and then we also ask that you provide a direct phone number just in case we need to contact you for any reason. Institutions can now request training from the SFAP department on various topics by completing the SFAP training request form. It is linked here at the bottom for your convenience, but it can also be found on our SFAP landing page under Stay Connected. All requests must be submitted at least 30 days in advance to be considered. Training requests are approved based on the availability of our trainers, and we do also ask that you allow up to 5 business days for the training request to be reviewed. For any inquiries regarding the transactions and payment requests within the GAP portal, please submit a GAP Help Desk ticket by entering a subject, selecting your request type, entering the program type, entering the description of your issue or inquiry, and then hitting that submit button to send your request. At this time, we will allow a few more moments for Tanisha and Deshae to wrap up any pending questions in the chat. But while they're doing so, we do ask those of you that do not have any pending questions waiting to be answered to please take a few minutes to fill out this short 6-question survey on how we did today. That would be much appreciated, guys. And now I'm just going to wait on the green light from our management team to proceed. Just let me know, Deshae, Tanisha, if we're all set. All right, thank you so much, Deshae. As a quick reminder, just as we mentioned before, we will have the video version and the PDF version of the presentation available on our SFAP website under the Stay Connected webcast archive for your convenience. An announcement will also be sent once this is made available. And again, y'all, thank you so much for attending our first webinar of the year in the month of March, and y'all enjoy the rest of your day.